and good. Tottenham On Tour. Tottenham On Tour.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Tottenham Talk. This is a great evening. Look at these. Look at the folks we got on the screen here. This is nuts. I'm here with Brian in the Resonator. That was who was originally going to be, and then Matty Hayes shows up in the comments with some googly eyes, and he gets on immediately. There you go. All it takes is a bit of googly eyes.
Is it just the googly eyes emoji for? Is that the password?
You might.
I'll know next time.
Yeah.
That's how you get into the VIP room, is if you got the googly eyes in there. Matty, welcome to the channel, man. I think this is the first time we've had you on the channel proper. I think we've talked about it a few times. I don't know if we've been able to line it up. I think we've had you on.
I think I have been on once before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's still not enough. Not enough.
When we had to talk about the Christmas show before I had to fly over for Bob.
Right. I recall that.
He was on for a bit, and then obviously we didn't get to do our Christmas special for obvious reasons. But it is great to have him here tonight.
It is. So we're going to chat a little bit about the fixture list is being released tomorrow, 9 a.m. UK time, I believe. And we're going to talk a little bit about sort of the times when things get in the way. When's the worst possible time for the North London Derby to drop, as an example. And of course, you could pick any fixture that's going to do that. It usually the first fixture of the season for me is my birthday weekend. And so it's like it's really good sometimes and it's really shit sometimes. So this year though I think it's a week earlier. I think the season starts if I'm not mistaken the 9th of August around there. So because of the World Cup. So it's a bit different than usual, but we're going to get into a little bit. Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about the tweet you put out? We don't need to say, everybody knows who these guys are, right? We don't need to go around the horn or anything. It's Rez, it's Matty. They're on the YouTubes all the time. But so Brian, I'll start with you then. You put a tweet out yesterday to kind of kick this off. What's it about?
Yeah, no, I put the tweet actually a few hours ago because obviously we finished at We Are Tottenham TV this afternoon, and we're getting in early, obviously, because of the fixtures coming out tomorrow's. And I literally started thinking, everyone talks about what they want first game of the first game of the season. Who do they want last, or who don't they want last, more to the point? And then it got me thinking, is there a particular time? I'm very, very lucky. Being born in June, Tottenham Hotspur never can ruin my birthay. They physically can't, because obviously they're not playing.
Or make your birthday incredible, which has happened to me.
The only time they could have done was with when we came back from COVID. And when we came back from COVID, Spurs, the North London Derby was actually on July the 12th, which was my dad's birthday. And obviously we won that 2-1, so it made his birthday. But then also the day before his birthday was when we lost the Euros final. So that kind of ruined his birthday. But the one fixture, it's the first fixture I look at, or the first date and weekend I look at, which is the weekend of Halloween, because it's my wife's birthday. And thankfully, so far, there has not been a North London Derby on that weekend, because
you know it's going to happen now that we're doing a show about it. That's that picture that's coming out tomorrow morning, and Brad's going to be like,
Well, no, it got to the point. My wife actually said Alana said to me one day, "What would happen if I went into labour if we were pregnant and having a kid? It was Spurs Arsenal." I said, well, trust me, I'd be there, but I'd ask the hospital, which one of these machines don't you need and I can take the plug out of? And I would plug in the North London Derby, and I can hold your hand for squeezing it if Arsenal score a goal or something.
Yeah, so 2 goals for a Spurs goal, 1 for a Scum
exactly.
Goal.
So the weekend that I dread, the North London, it's the first fixture I look for, October 31st weekend or around that for Spurs Arsenal. But we're also looking forward to October, because once we know the fixture list, this man will be booking a ticket to Toronto to come and watch games at the Scotland Yard.
Speaking of the pregnancy, though, I can just imagine you being in the delivery room going, push, push, and she's going, I am pushing. Is that not you, Spurs?
Press, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's the weekend of the fixture I dread, and the first one I look forward to or look at.
Yeah, nice one, Maddie. Do you have a fixture like this for you that you kind of like freaking out about, or that you're worried about, or that when's your birthday? Is there any issues there for you?
Oh, Brian, wait till I tell you.
Oh, I can't wait now. This is why you wanted to come on, right? That's what the googly eyes were about.
This is the only reason. So my birthday is the end of September. It's the 26th of September, and from what I can remember in my very few years on this planet, Tottenham have played 3 times on my birthday. The first one was 2015. We beat Man City 4-1 at White Hart Lane, which was quite a decent result.
It's a great result.
The second one was 2018. No, it wasn't 2018. It would have been 2017. We played Asteras Tripoli in the Champions League. We won 3-0. Harry Kane scored a perfect hat-trick. And the last time, Brian, that they played on my birthday was the season just gone when we lost 3-1 to Arsenal. So that was the worst birthday of my life. I'm not going to lie to you. So, yeah, I'm kind of hoping at my birthday next season we're at home to Fulham or something. Just something that we can just guarantee the 3 points. But the fixture always look out.
It does affect it though massively, right? Like it's crazy. So my biggest memory for my birthday was I went for my 40th birthday. I went to England and then went and saw Spurs away at West Ham. It was Pochettino's first game for the club, and Dyer scored the winner in the final minute. I was in the away end. It was literally on my 40th birthday. So I have like probably the best birthday experience, and I won't remember any other one other than that because it was absolutely incredible. Spent the next half an hour just singing songs in the away end, and obviously taking the piss out of West Ham fans. Ton of fun. That was. Rez, you got anything to add there, buddy?
Well, my birthday's in May. So usually by that time the season has sort of fizzled out.
We're playing in the FA Cup final this year. We'll see what happens.
Well, the weird thing is this year, because Gunners are runners everywhere they go, the North London derby, that phenomenal North London derby, was very close to my birthday. It was only 10 days after. So that was pretty good. But generally, Spurs seemed to do me a favour on or around my birthday and generally win. But my very first ever live match involving Spurs was on my 20th birthday. But it was away. We went to Selhurst Park in 1998 to play Wimbledon, and we destroyed them 6-2.
Was that with Klinsmann?
That was with Klinsmann. That's right.
What year was that? Was that
98?
98. Okay.
It's second. And I remember being in the away end, and I think Musa Saib got one of our goals to make it. I think it was 4-2. I think he made it for us. This is the second half, and we were in the stands shouting, "We want 5, we want 5." And then I think it was Klinsmann got the 5th and Jin got the 6th, or the other way around. And anyway, when we went 5-2 up, we started singing "We want 6," and they duly delivered.
They gave you the 6th. Nice one.
And go ahead. Up on my shelf somewhere.
Oh, nice. In the comments, folks, if you're in the comments, get us your favorite birthday memory. You can just give us the score line, how close it is to your birthday. Be fun to check some of those out and see what people did. So the fixture list is out tomorrow. Have you guys seen the leak? There's the leak that's been out, and is there any reality in that leak? I've seen the picture, and then I've also seen the leak of it. Southampton. Is it Southampton at home?
The Premier League have made probably a huge error. I don't know if people have seen this, but obviously in that league, we're due to play Brentford first game of the season, November the 12th, the first North London derby. Yeah. But in that game, Man City weren't due to play Bournemouth. But what has happened with the Premier League official, and they had to remove it, is when Man City announced Haaland, the Premier League official tweeted, "Good luck, Bournemouth." So it could be very, very telling that Man City may have Bournemouth first game of the season. And if that is correct, that mock that everyone's seeing where we've got Brentford first game of the season is right.
Yeah, because on here it says Man City versus Villa.
Yeah.
Is it at home, the Brentford one, or are we away to Brentford?
If this leak is right, which it seems it's not, it would be Brentford first. But then what the worrying thing, if this leak was right, the last week of August and the first 2 weeks of September are Chelsea away, Man U and Liverpool at home.
Yeah, that's what we want. So, come on out of the way in one.
You've got to play them. You have to play them, but do you want them 3 bang back straight back to back? So
a run of games like that sometimes can be. Right. You can go both ways, right? You can have moments where it's brilliant, but.
This is actually definitely wrong. Do you know why?
Because at the end of the season, it's got Liverpool, Arsenal twice.
And it's also got Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham twice on the 13th and the 20th of May.
So there you go.
So,
yeah. Somebody's having a laugh there, aren't they?
Actually, the 13th and the 20th of May are identical every fixture.
There we go. That's how good. I think we can definitely say that this is.
Chuck that out the window then. Maddie, Maddie, have you heard about the Southampton one? Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, I've seen. I think it's a Southampton away on the first day, and Chelsea at home on the second day. Look, to be honest, it happens every year where people throw out these. I got this file sent to me by this dude who works with this guy who knows this guy whose cat is friends with this. All that crap. It's something that's kept very, very close to the chest of everybody. It's such an important moment, and there's such publicity around the release of the fixtures as well. I'd be very surprised if there is any leaks that are genuine. But look, it's always fun to have a look at them and see if you can figure out what's real, and like that, trying to figure out why it's not real and kind of catching people out like that. But yeah, I'd be surprised if there's any truth in any of them.
For sure. Is there any team you want to play on the first game of the season, like that you'd like to see happen immediately? And have we ever played a London derby, a big London derby versus Chelsea or West Ham or Arsenal on the first game of the season? Because I feel like that would be pretty fun, but also
Chelsea.
We've had Chelsea. Was that recently or what?
Season at Wembley when Alonso.
Oh, right,
that's
right.
true.
That's true.
And West Ham as well. The game that you were at, Brian. That was first game.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that was 2014. Yeah.
And we also, back in the day, 1988-89 season, the first home game of the season was Arsenal. It was meant to be Coventry, but the West Stand weren't done. So Gazza's first game was away to Newcastle, and then the second game was a North London derby. But first game of the season, I'd love Bournemouth at home. That's the game I'd love. Bournemouth at home.
Get off to a winning start. Yeah, absolutely.
Even Bournemouth away. Wonderful.
I have this craving. I don't know why, to have a big match right off the bat, to just see what Conte has done over the summer with arguably getting players in. We'll see what happens, but seemingly, based on what we've seen so far, getting players in before preseason and what that's going to do to the team and what's the difference between us after that preseason compared to, say, Chelsea or Arsenal or Man U or City or Liverpool? You play them first, you know the shape that we're in immediately when you come up against a side like that. Playing Bournemouth doesn't tell you a lot. You expect even a team that hasn't, maybe isn't fully fit to be able to beat a Bournemouth side comfortably on the first game of the season, but coming through that and being able to do it against a big team and just showing what we've got immediately, I think that would be really good for the team and for just momentum, but also just fun to watch to see the difference between what we were last season and what we would be this season.
Thomas and Adam started. Wouldn't it be good to get Arsenal out of the way and get them for Arsenal away first game of the season?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
The weird thing I think I'm not sure how accurate it is now. I do know that a few years ago, the computer would generate the sort of fixture list, and then the police forces around the country would have a look at it and stuff. Yeah. And one of the things they had to make sure is that, if you notice, Spurs and Arsenal never play home or away at the same time. And that's true of other derbies like Man United and Liverpool, Man United and Leeds, and Man United and Man City. It's always Man United for some reason. What I think happens is that I think that they would, if I was in charge of the police or the Metropolitan Police or in charge of the football part, I wouldn't want Spurs and Arsenal on the first day. So I have a little inkling that if the computer does generate that, they will turn around and say, no, that's not happening.
Because it'll just be too much of a mess.
Can you imagine? Yeah, can you imagine? They've been, all these football fans starved of football for, 8, 9, 10 weeks. First game of the season, one of the most intense derbies.
Could you imagine the atmosphere at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium if that happened? I mean, it would just be epic.
Yeah, it would be another Arsenal crumble, as people in the comments have said.
If that happened, I might have to make a phone call to Alana and say, honey, guess what? It's happened again.
Happened again.
I'll see you in mid-August. But I've got to, because there's loads of people saying it. I've been asked personally by Lapis82 to ask Matty Hayes a question, which is, Matty Hayes,
it's an important
do you
question.
think Brian Ireland looks like Shay Given?
It's not one that it's not a connection that I would have made myself.
I've been given that before, by the way. This is not the first time it's been said. It's been said a number of times. Sorry, Maddie, I'll let you answer the question because you're Irish, so you should know.
Yeah. It's not a connection I would have made myself, but I will now call you Shay exclusively going forward.
All right. You know what?
I do think you look like Shay Given.
You see it now, man.
And it's actually
much better looking than Shay Given. Come on, let's
it's ironic that your surname is Ireland.
Yeah, well. There is that.
That is ironic. It is for sure. Shay Ireland is Adam's putting it in the comments.
It's poetically, it's all sort of dovetailed nicely. I like it.
So I'm getting called Lucas Moura a lot, especially when I shave this with my skin being a little bit darker during the summer.
You're also being compared to another player as well, aren't you?
Yes, Yes, we'll move on for that.
Who is this? Reds, you want to fill us in there, buddy?
People have said that Brian bears a striking resemblance to a young Mark Cucurella.
Oh yeah, no, there's actually a great photo of that Bob shared the two of them beside each other, and it is impressive that they look so much alike. Yeah.
So there you go. There's a new show, the Lucas and Shay show.
The Lucas and Shay show, exactly. Nice one.
Yes. The more time we spend together, the more we end up resembling each other. Me and Bob Spur. It's quite frightening. It's quite frightening.
I just got to find out Hayes what it look like.
Yeah, that's true.
I used to always get compared to Ronan O'Gara, the rugby player. I don't know if you know him, but then I gained a lot of weight, so now I don't look anything like him. But I don't. I've never been compared to a footballer.
Nah.
We'll have to go on the search. If anyone in the comments,
neither have I. I look like Bob Spur.
I'd say you look more like a football manager.
Yeah.
Actually, I can see. I can see a football manager you could resemble.
I'm a brown Sean Dyche.
No, I was actually going to say more like a Rafa Benitez with the.
That was my first thought. Benitez.
Yeah. Actually, if I take the glasses off, let's see.
Yeah, you've got the Rafa.
Yeah,
bit of Rafa going on there. Bit of Rafa for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, nice one. So Chelsea fixture coming up. They're not in a good state right now. I would love to get Maddie's thoughts on this in regards to the lack of transfer movement and their current situation. I'd love to get them first as well, or early doors before they're done their business.
Start putting the nails into Tuchel's coffin.
Yeah, exactly. Because and on that note, which Tuchel or Arteta, which one gets sacked first? But let's talk about the Chelsea situation first. Maddie, they're kind of a mess right now. It would be good to play them early in the season, based on what's going on with them. Have you been paying attention to them at all, or know what's going on with their transfer situation?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the biggest one for them at the moment is trying to sort something out with Lukaku, because of course his future depends on what the biggest deal they need to do this window is. If he's going to go back to Inter Milan, they need a marquee signing up top. And my concern from the get-go was that if Lukaku was going to go back to Inter Milan on a permanent deal, that would almost definitely mean Lautaro Martinez going the other way, but that doesn't look to be the case. So if Chelsea lose him, I think it's a 20 million euro loan fee that's being mentioned, which is a very nice amount of money for a loan, but it's not enough for Chelsea to get a replacement. So I'm kind of enjoying seeing them struggle and see how much work they're going to have to do through the window. But I was only thinking about it earlier today, about getting Chelsea on that first game of the season, because I think for us, Chelsea is the benchmark of where we want to be next season, and that they're the team that we're kind of in that middle ground between Man City and Liverpool and then the rest of the league. And I think for us, if the transfer window goes to plan, if we spend as much money as we're planning, I think we have to be that team. We have to be at the bare minimum ahead of everybody else, unless Chelsea turn around and have an incredible window.
Something mad happens,
yeah. And look, it's possible with the new owners coming in, they might want to make a big statement and try and go all out in their first window. And at that point, we could have a lot of competition on our hands. But to get Chelsea first game of the season, I think would be fantastic. And I think we have, looking at the way we expect things to shape up, I think we have a very good chance in that, because we're going to have a lot of business on before pre-season, whereas Chelsea, like I said, could be waiting around to see what needs to be done. And let's not forget they've lost Andreas Christensen, Antonio Rudiger, Cesar Azpilicueta, and Marcus Alonso. It's in a shocking state. Now, they could get Jules Koundé, who I think is a very good defender, but I was even talking to a friend of mine who's a Chelsea fan last week, and he was saying, looking at what is expected to happen in this window, they could have to revert to a 4 at the back simply because they don't have the numbers in defence. And also players like N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic in midfield don't quite have the legs that they used to. So maybe they need an extra man in there. Now, in a roundabout way, that could work out to benefit them. But it's a very important summer for Chelsea. And I'll be honest, if there's any man who I think will do a good job with it, it is probably Thomas Tuchel. but it could easily go sour for them. And my God, it'd be funny if it did.
Oh, and I'd love to play them early again as well. Go ahead, Bryce. Sorry.
I think Thomas Tuchel, when I've said it, I think he's the first manager sacked. I really think this season. I really do.
I think Arteta will get sacked before Tuchel does. It'll be end of November.
Keep him as long as possible. But no, now you say I wouldn't mind Chelsea. It'd have to be Chelsea away. Get Stamford Bridge done and dusted out the way. I'd rather that than the Emirates.
You know what's good about that too is there's no build up to it other than the season build up, which you get is built up anyway. So you're just going straight into it. You're like, all right, first game of the season, we're going away to Chelsea. There's no like, oh God, we got Chelsea in 2 weeks and we've got all these games before it. Maybe there's a Champions League game midweek and then we've got to play them on the Sunday or something. None of those things are in play. Sorry, Rez?
The other thing you got to remember is that Chelsea will present a challenge to us.
Yeah.
You know, it will be a yardstick to where we are. Arsenal won't, right? I think I agree with you, Brian. I think that Arteta will go first, but neither of those two managers will see out the season, in my view. I don't think either of them will. They're both going to be sacked partway through the season. Tuchel, when he was at PSG, he had them playing really well, had them playing really effectively, but then something went wrong, right? It seems. And
I think he has a dressing room issues, doesn't he? Like he can get in the players. Yeah. I feel like that's a thing for Tuchel. He struggles with the dressing room. He struggles with the dressing room.
After a while, he gets them playing well, and then something sort of falls away. A little bit like Brendan Rodgers as well.
Yeah, that's a good show.
And so I think that with Tuchel, you can have whatever sort of stars you want, whatever resources you want. There's just something about his personality that rubs up his players the wrong way after a while, and it just sees him disappear. And I think that's going to happen again. With Arteta, he should have been sacked 3 times over for Arsenal last season. You know, he was in so much trouble that if it had been any other manager, they probably would have pulled the trigger. And I think it's just on his last legs now. They're going to have, again, that inconsistent run of form that saw them throw away 4th place when they were 6 points clear with a game in hand. That sort of thing's going to rear its head again, and Arteta's going to go. Neither's going to see through the season. Arteta first, then Tuchel. And so Chelsea first would be better because Arsenal, but I think Chelsea first would be better because there isn't quite as much atmosphere either. But we're going to destroy Arsenal both times. We're going to do it all over them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be a no-brainer. Yeah, it's an interesting one. There's all of these. I think the first probably. When does the transfer window close, Maddie? This is a question for you. Is it different this season because of the World Cup because it's starting earlier? The season started. Is there something there, or is it the same window?
It's the same. It closes 11 p.m. on the 1st of September. So they tried to bring it back to before the start of the season. The Premier League did, but then none of the other leagues followed suit. So essentially, there was a 3-week period where Premier League clubs could lose players but not replace them. I think the only reason they actually changed back was after the lockdown with COVID, because of how late the season ended. They extended the window and just kept it there since. So it's the 1st of September again this year.
Because I would imagine if we get all of our business done before preseason starts and we go into that preseason, we do, Conte does what Conte does in preseason, and then you come up against teams who are still trying to get their transfer. We know because we've been in that scenario. We're the team that's usually going, oh shit, we don't have our business done, and you're not quite flying yet. Whereas we could go into this season potentially flying, and you could hopefully come up against some of the bigger teams who aren't, which we did against City last year. That's when we played City last year, despite our manager not being very competent. He got away with one and got the win against City early on. A few of those teams in the at the beginning of the season from this, I think it's the 9th, the 6th or the 9th. Maddie, when does the season start? Is it it is the 6th? So the 6th, when the 6th to the 30th of September is a long time. And you got a lot of games you're going to play in that period of time. So hopefully we get some fixtures that suit us, that will be flying at the time. We got some super chats we want to get to. Ads, if you could pop those up one at a time, and we'll read them out. And Wolfsfy, he's always in here helping us out.
He is. He's brilliant.
Very good lad.
He's incredible, and thank you for the comment. Also, Walter, who do you want as your first game of the season, home and away? Let us know. Because obviously we got 100 people. Yeah, can you imagine? We got 100 people in here. And I think you're the only non-Tottenham Hotspur fan that is always supporting all the channels. So it'd be interesting to see who you're going to get. And then I think Superman has put one in.
And how many How many people have likes have we got in here yet on this right now? 37 likes, and we've got 103 people watching. Smash that like button. What are you guys howling at over there? What
no, we're laughing at.
Sorry, I was looking at another screen.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice one, Bob. Fantastic stuff.
So what else did I talk about fixtures? Or we've got the man of the man here. Should we talk transfers?
Yeah, I mean it's hard not to. That's I'm trying to relate the transfers to the schedule, so that we can maintain somewhat on topic with that. But it is hard not to go. So Maddie, what's going on? Give us some juice. So Maddie, give us some juice. Where are we at with some of these? I want to know about the Bissouma one, because it has obviously been the here we go, or the Fabrizio Romano doing what he normally does.
Have you here we go'd it?
He didn't hear we
not yes, yeah.
He hasn't here we go'd it, but he was the one who said that he's going to be signing. I think Thursday. He's supposed to be showing up at the Spurs training ground this evening. I think. Or getting his medical. Any news on that, Maddie? How real is it, and how excited should we be? And is it going to happen like in the next couple of days, so we have more to celebrate?
Yeah, I think it's hard to imagine that this isn't 100% real. It's one of those beautiful Fabio Paratici masterstrokes. And look, as much as I love covering transfers and talking about all these rumors from this source that nobody's ever heard of in the middle of some tiny village in the southern coast of Italy, compared to someone like an Alistair Gold. I love that sort of stuff, but it's something that hit just a little bit different about a signing coming out of the blue like this. And it's something that I think, aside from Aston Villa in the last couple of years, that we haven't really seen too much of. So it's nice to see Spurs get involved in that. But you have your Alistair Golds, your Fabrizio Romanos, your Charlie Eccleshare, Dan Kilpatrick, all the good ones are saying it is a medical tomorrow. That is some conflicting reports about whether or not he's actually at Hotspur waiting at the lodge tonight. But judging from who's saying what, I think he is. Alistair Gold said we could have an announcement by the weekend. I was kind of hoping that it would be something sooner, because if he got into the lodge early today, I would assume they could get all the interviews and the pictures out of the way, medical tomorrow, and then maybe announce it straight afterwards or on Friday. I was kind of hoping for that. But I am off work this weekend, so if he gets announced the weekend, that's better for me, because I can just stream straight away. But yeah, look, it's a very good deal. As Bissouma said himself, he thinks he's the best midfielder in the Premier League. Which I admire the confidence.
Can't argue with it, really. If you look at his statistics, I looked at that a couple of days ago before I did my stream, and I was like, "Holy crap!" If you look at his interception rate, his passing rate, it's just his tackles. He is just absurd. He is just really, really, really good. In a Spurs team with Conte managing, it's just like levels. Yeah.
I think the best thing about him is, like, I would have looked at him as one, like an enforcer, a ball-winning midfielder, one who would just fly into challenges all over the place and win possession back. And I thought maybe there was some part of his game on the ball that was lacking a little bit. But having looked into him a bit more and looking at the stats and some different analysis articles that have been done, he's in a very similar mold. And please don't get too excited when I say this, because I get excited when I say it. But he's in a similar mold to Moussa Dembele.
I knew you were going to say
it. He's nowhere near that level, and I'm not going to claim that any top player.
Not really many players are, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But he's very press resistant. And one way I saw it described is, if you press Bissouma, he'll spin past you and work into the space. But if you give him time, he'll pick out a pass. He'll pick out a very, very effective pass. And his numbers in terms of progressive passes and key passes aren't out of this world. I mean, they're fairly average, but what he has is quality over quantity. And when he does pick out a pass like that, it is effective. And the way I kind of looked at it as well was, when he's playing at Brighton last season, you have players like Neil Maupay, Pascal Gross, Leandro Trossard, who were very good players, but aren't going to terrify defenses. So I think when Bissouma did get on the ball, they could maybe commit that extra man to go press him and kind of nullify what he could try and do. But if you're a lower table defense and you've got Kane on one shoulder, Son on the other shoulder, and then Kulusevski standing behind you, you're going to be terrified about what's behind, and that gives more space. 100%. And that gives more space for Bissouma to move into with the ball and then pick out another pass from a position further advanced up the football pitch.
Yeah, I think Bissouma could be as good as Moussa Dembele in our team with the quality around him. He played in a Brighton side who are very well coached, and their system is really good. And I like Potter. I like the system they play. I just don't think they had enough players up top to really finish a lot of the chances that he created. Bissouma in the midfield, though, his statistics in that team of what I think they finished 14th or 15th or whatever there was pretty low in the table. for him to have those statistics in that team is nuts. He shut down Kane completely the last time we played Brighton. Kane was like non-existent, and he was like ran the game. So yeah, he's gonna offer a lot, I think, to this team. Sorry, Brad.
What I was saying, I said it on TV today was he could be our N'Golo Kante. He's got all the attributes to do it, and obviously he was brilliant at Leicester. But then when Conte got hold of him at Chelsea, Conte did have him, didn't he? Yeah, he did.
Conte had him.
He did. It was the first season when they were. So, and you saw what he did with him. I mean, obviously the talent was all there, but he's got all the attributes that just maybe need a little more enhancing. I mean, N'Golo Conte blew everyone away, especially from where he came from and the season he had at Leicester. But it's going to be a long-term contract, and under Conte, he really could be incredible.
I wonder, guys. Sorry, go ahead.
Getting Bissouma in is a question of squad depth as well.
Huge. I was just going to talk about that because I think that's we have a bunch of defensive midfielders. Why do we need another one? Well, we do 5 subs, 2 competitions. Conte wants to win. Period. If he gets an injury, he doesn't want to be suffering, right?
Even before that, look for 2. Let's say we're working on the assumption that it's 3 central defenders, 2 wing backs, 2 defensive midfielders, and 3 up front. So for that. For the positions where you've got 2 of them, so for 2 wing backs and for 2 central midfielders, you need 4. So to provide rotation and cover for each of those types of player. For the 3s, you need 5, right?
Yep.
Even before the 5 subs came in. So we needed 4 central midfielders. We now have 4. We got Højbjerg, Skip, Bentancur, and Bissouma.
Right. And of course, there's a likelihood that Eriksen's in that conversation as well. And that adds, when you play that 3-5-2, you get Eriksen in there, and then you've got a 10 or
he's
a
your
top of the 3.
Extra.
Exactly.
He's your optional extra, right? This is
talk about depth, squad depth.
Exactly. You know, now what we need to do is concentrate on the wing-back positions, because it's all very well having these great defensive midfielders. If you don't have effective wing-back, we've got one that we know is proven in Perisic. We've got another that showed that he might
started to prove himself
in Doherty, but he's out till December, so we're still down to 1. We still need
December. I didn't realize he was out that long. Shit.
Yeah, well, that's the speculation because of the World Cup as well. So he will be sort of, by the time his recovery starts, the World Cup will begin. So then that ends middle of December, or, first couple of weeks of December. So we're not going to see him till December, I think is the speculation.
What's the situation with Jed Spence? Do we know? Anybody know anything about Jed Spence?
You got to remember as well with Christmas. Just very quickly talking about the fixtures. Premier League announced today that Christmas, Boxing Day,
right? That's another topic of conversation for sure.
Completely, totally, and utterly abolished. Which you can understand, but I'm fuming because.
So this season though, Brian, and I don't know did they say it was permanently or just for this season because of the World Cup?
This season for the World Cup.
It makes complete sense. I mean, these players. We can talk about, and here's a prime example of how tired they are. And I'm not going to completely blame it on England's result last night on how tired they were, but they were fucking gassed, and they got absolutely destroyed by a Hungary team that they should be beating comfortably. But they were on vacation already. You could see just Kane's his social media stuff. Just kind of, guys, let's not get carried away here. You could tell they were exhausted. And after COVID and all the games being rescheduled and everything just being a complete mess, it's just been a giant mess for a long time. I've always considered Cucurella to be a left child of certain Daniel and Brian Dagul. Yes, it's Bryce. It's 100%. He's the love child.
So Lapis82 has also said I've got a Freddie Canute look to me, which I'll take. Yeah. I'll take.
I mean, it's not just a love child though. It's like a genetic mutation because you'd have to sort of one of you. The X chromosome from one and the Y chromosome from the other.
You're a superhero from the Marvel universe. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Were you ever in a radiation chamber?
Not that I know of.
Right. Okay. So the chances have gone down.
I did spend a lot of my time blind drunk, so I don't know where I
ended up. So you might have done. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So you've got to be careful. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask Maddie about the Jed Spence scenario. Going back to the transfer situation, is that getting over the line? I mean, that seems like a typical Spurs transfer where it's like this is going to happen, and then there's all these different things that kind of never happen, and then it dwindles, and you're like, another one bites the dust. Is what's your knowledge on that Jed Spence situation? And do you want it? Do you like it?
See, this is one that is is kind of I'm on the fence with this one because it seems like a Conte signing, but it also seems like a Daniel Levy signing, and I can't quite figure out what category it fits into. And
it's confusing.
Exactly, and what Brian said there about the Bissouma and Kante kind of links. Conte is the man who signed Kante for Chelsea, so even just looking purely at that's the style of player that Conte likes to bring in. It worked with Nicolo Barella as well at Inter Milan. But with Spence, I personally don't see how a wing-back coming up from the Championship can step into a Premier League, Champions League team and immediately be exactly what is needed. And look, Spence is a very good player. Probably the best wing back in the league last season. Ironically, the second best was probably Isaiah Jones, who took his place at Middlesbrough. But he's very naive and he's very inexperienced. He's only 21 years of age. And again, having looked into what he kind of what he's lacking within his game, it's the typical stuff that you'd expect of a young player. And I saw someone mention that Antonio Conte signed Achraf Hakimi at Inter Milan, who was the same age as Jed Spence is now. But Hakimi was playing in the Champions League for Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund at the age of 18, 19, against us in some games, and actually quite well. So I don't think it's a fair comparison to make about the two of those. But exactly, if this is the player that Conte has targeted, well, then I'm all for it because I don't think any of us are going to sit here and say that we're better scouts.
I'm not going to argue with Conte. Period.
Exactly. Mostly because I'd be afraid of going back to the stadium if Conte had it out for me. But I think it's.
You, Matty. He's not vindictive like that.
We don't know that. Do you know him personally, Chris? We do not know Antonio Conte. He's a man who seems very, very like he'd stick to his guns.
I can just imagine you walk out of the stadium after the first game and it's all dark and stuff, and you think, I'll take this alleyway just to sort of get to the station faster. And just out of the dark, this Italian accent says, "I have been waiting for you."
So who?
I'd ask for a signature, to be honest.
If Jed Spence isn't going to be like who are you looking at, or who is in comparison to Perisic on the left, right? Because that's kind of arguably what we need. You need that type of quality, that's going to offer the same type of outlet on the right hand side. Is there anybody that we're looking at, or that you've seen that Spurs are kind of going, one target, because it seems to me like Paratici's like, I'm going to target hundreds of players and nobody knows what we're going to do, and weird things come out of nowhere, like the Bissouma transfer. So is there anybody else that we should be looking at in that position?
That's the thing that's kind of interesting to me, because on the Spence, I think the line is barring a disaster, he will be a Spurs player. We heard that with Conte last year in the summer, but the interesting thing for me is that other right back names keep on cropping up. I know we've been interested in Wilfred Singo from Torino since January, at least. There's a name of Nahuel Molina. I think he plays with Udinese, but he's an international colleague of Romero. There's Joaquin Mela from Atalanta, and there's another name that I was thinking of a second ago that's escaped me. But the fact that those other names keep on creeping in, I kind of wonder, is Spence a smokescreen? And I feel bad for the kid if he is, because he seems very keen on this. He seems to have chosen Tottenham.
Fuck him, I don't give a shit.
Fair enough. It also seems to have kind of similarities to the Tomiyasu situation last summer as well, where I think there was a good 2 weeks there where we were waiting for the official announcement for Tomiyasu, and then it was like, oh, by the way, we got Emerson from Barcelona. So there could be something like that, but at the moment, taking the reports, the reliable reports at face value, it looks like Spence is the man, and Spence will be one of our next signings. But you just can't predict.
I mean, I've got no objection to Jed Spence coming in, right? Because the talent, or the raw talent, will be there. Everyone says he's going to be a great right wing back. For me, when if someone comes in and I wouldn't want Jed Spence to be our primary right wing back. Because of that.
He's like a Sessegnon on the right, essentially, right? You want a player that's there to understudy under a very good experienced right wing back.
Yeah. So we need someone. Listen, whoever the right wing back we sign, if it's only one right wing back that we sign, you got to remember that's going to be our right wing back for every game up until the World Cup.
Until Doherty's fit, right?
Until Doherty's fit, exactly. Unless we keep Emerson as well, but my God. Why would we do that, right? For me,
poor Emerson, he tried so hard at the end of the season. At the end of the season, we all felt like, maybe he's got it. It creeps in, right?
I've said it time and time again, and the weird thing is, what applies to Emerson, I think applies to Jed Spence as well, or the first part of what I'm going to say. Emerson may well one day be the best right back in the world. Maybe it's possible. You never know. He's not that now. Right? He's not. And Jed Spence, likewise, may one day be one of the best, or the best right wing back in the world, but he's not that now. And I'm not saying we should have the best right wing back in the world, but we should have a right wing back who is at a level that is commensurate with the Champions League side. Yeah. At the moment, Jed Spence is not that. And yes, Conte might work wonders with the guy and may well turn him into a world-class right wing back, but that never happens over the course of a season unless that player already has the talent like Hakimi did at that age, when he was 18. He already had that ability. That's why he was playing for Real Madrid. That's why he went to Inter Milan and did well. Jed Spence is playing at the level that he is at the moment, which is Championship. For me, that should not be our first choice right wing back. We need another one along the lines of Perisic, although Perisic is now on the other side of that peak, but he's still very good. Don't get me wrong. I'm very excited about having him. We need a proper right wing back. And
I agree.
Say bye to Emerson.
I want Dumfries. If we can keep Spence and get another one in like Dumfries, and then I'll be happy. I just think it's like you said, Matt. It's a little bit too early to go from a playoff winning Championship team into a Champions League playing, hopefully third place and above title pushing
FA
team.
Cup winning.
Yeah, FA Cup winning team.
Come on. Yeah, we're going to win the quadruple, guys. Come on.
We
know we're all deluded and think that's going to happen.
I'm going to bring up another player for you, Matt, because Superman's he put a question in and he's given it a Kleenex rating of 8. He is desperate, and we all know about his Kleenex rating when it comes to Romero or whatever. He's desperate for Richarlison.
I was going to ask that. That was actually my next question, was the Richarlison question. And then there was another comment that came out from Alexander Hilton about Rafinha. And I'd like to get the thoughts on which one would you prefer, because I think Rafinha plays off the right, Richarlison off the left. Richarlison can play up top as a striker. Rafinha, I'm not sure. But I would love to know what each of those transfers are at and what's the likelihood of either of them happening. And what do you guys think of them? I want to hear Maddie first, then I want to hear what you guys think of either of those players coming into Spurs.
I think a lot of people claim that they don't have like a type. Conte does, and it seems to be Brazilian forwards in the Premier League. Richarlison is very expensive. At 51 million pounds, I was a bit iffy. Potentially rising to 65 million pounds. And look, people have said on Twitter, "Don't worry about this one. Levy will cover this. You don't have to pay Matt." I know that, but there's still a budget there that Tottenham have to work within, and I think there's money that we can spend elsewhere in different positions, or maybe abroad on players who have more talent than Richarlison. And I fully understand the idea that he's already used to the Premier League. He's played here for 4 or 5 years. If we get someone elsewhere like a Martinez, maybe he'll have to adapt to the Premier League. I understand that, but I think the talent they have probably outweighs that familiarity Richarlison has with the league. And don't get me wrong, he's a very good player. I think what he has that Rafinha probably doesn't is the ability to play everywhere across that front line, and I think that's going to be crucial in whatever forward we bring in. Because again, people always say that, who's he going to start ahead of? Whose place is he going to take? And for me, that's just not the case with any signing that Tottenham make this summer. And the way I kind of explain it with forwards is you're looking at, let's say we're going to play 60 games next season. Hopefully we get to the latter stages of all the cup competitions. That's 60 games. There's 3 forward positions within that, within each of those games, which essentially burns down to 180 starting positions, split amongst 4 players is 45 starts each.
It's a lot of football.
That's a lot of football for any player. That's almost too much. So I don't think it's a question of who replaces who. It's who can come in and be a ready-made backup or a ready-made rotation option for every position.
Son goes on what he always does every season. Son goes on 3 or 4 games where he isn't performing. He isn't putting the goals in. He looks tired. Oh, right. We got somebody who can literally go in and do the job that Sonny can do. Like that. I think that's an incredibly important thing that I think Conte came out and said in the press a few days ago that. The thing he was missing was that the options off the bench. He looked at the bench and he couldn't change anything properly. He wasn't able to go, I'm going to switch to 3 in the midfield, to 3-5-2 instead of playing the 3-4-3. He's like, all I have is this. So this is what we're going to try to do to get through it. But what he's doing and what he's building is options in every position across the board. And I think Richarlison, I like Rafinha as a player better from what I've seen of him, but I think Richarlison's probably a better choice.
Exactly.
But I like Rafinha more just from his style and watching him play. Rez or Brian, which one of you guys wants to talk about it first? Do you prefer Richarlison over Rafinha, or is it even a question? Could we just get both in? Because that would be ridiculous.
Well, again, we come back to
Are we getting selfish, guys? What's going on here?
No, not in the slightest. We come back to the question of, look, you've got, if your default system is playing 3 up front, you need 5 players to cover those positions for rotation and injury cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way it works. So what you're looking for, I mean, Kane generally plays through the middle, right? Sonny generally plays on the left. Kulu's a bit more adaptable. He can sort of drift in and out. So can Son. There's flexibility there. What you really would be looking for in the other 2, let's say, are players that can play anywhere across that front 3, who can be a backup striker, who can play left or right, inside forward, stroke wing. It's not really a wing position. It's an inside forward position. So Richarlison fits that bill very well.
Yeah.
Rafinha less so, because he's more right-sided, but then you can counterbalance that by saying, well, Sonny's more left-sided, So for me, if it is those 2, I'd say go and get them both. And I know a lot of people have balked at the price tag for Richarlison, but you do also have to remember that ultimately the price of a player comes down to how much the selling club want for him.
It's a market. It's not what we think he should cost. It's what the club values him at, right? They're the club that has his, that's paying his wages and paying his, that's the reality.
It's like look at Haaland, right? Haaland, the way he's playing is easily £150 million player.
Yeah,
Man City got him for 68 million, because he had a release clause. So that was the contractual business side of things. Now, for me, if Conte says Richarlison is the one for me, it should be a case of bollocks to the cost, go and get him, right? If that is if he's like top of the list or in the the top part of Conte's list for that position, forget the cost. You go and get him, right?
Yeah.
Same with Rafinha. If he's not, then you say, well, okay, maybe there's someone higher up the list or maybe slightly lower down the list that we can get for a better price. But if it is Richarlison, as say one of the top 3 that he wants, and the other 2 aren't available, you pay the money. That's the long and the short of it for me. And I don't see either of them in or both.
Yeah, I think both. I think both is like somebody is mentioning about Bergwijn leaving, potentially Lucas leaving. Those players need to be replaced in the squad. So you're gonna have to find players that are good enough to come in and fill in, at least as good as they've done. And we haven't really seen a lot of them. I think what Conte is looking for is not just as good as what the sort of the bit part players that don't really have enough or aren't really good enough. He wants to have players that will make those other players like Kane and Son and Kulusevski feel like they might lose their job if they don't perform, and they can come in and do the job as good as or close to as good as. Hard to compete with Son and Kane in that scenario.
Can I add one more point as well?
Yeah, of course. I just think the level of quality has to be at the highest level, and I think that's what Conte's doing. He's going, I want the best players possible that I can get.
There was one other thing as well. Sorry, I forgot to add this when I was talking about the sort of business and the financial side of things. You also have to, again, we have to get our heads around the idea that there is not some little pamphlet like we used to have when we were growing up. With this, my phone, but it's sort of shaped like a pamphlet. A little pamphlet where you open it up and it shows your balance in there, right? There is no bank statement somewhere where, let's say, for instance, we go and buy Richarlison for say 60 million. There is no bank statement somewhere that says 60 million pound, point of sale debit card purchase, Everton shop. It's not the way it works, right?
Yeah, it's much more nuanced than that, for sure.
Much more, and all payments will be staged. It will take, for most the standard way is that payments are made across the length of a player's contract. So if you buy Richarlison, say, for 60 million, if that's the sort of fee in inverted commas, but he's given, say, just for an example, a 6-year contract, that's 10 million a year. Right, when your club is turning over 330 million a year,
it's peanuts.
That 60 million becomes a lot less significant. So we've got to get our mindset out of this idea that there's like this big chunk of money sat there, like piles of gold coins, that when the deal is done, it said, right, I'm going to transfer this amount of gold coins over to you now. It's all done on paper. It's all done in stages. It's all done according to payment schedules and setups. That this is the other thing. So we gave Dele, or we sold Dele to Everton. So there's a payment structure for that already.
Said.
There's already a payment. for that. So what will happen is that there'll be a payment structure between Tottenham and Everton for so many other transfers as well. And then the Richarlison deal will just adjust that payment schedule. And then even stuff like, say, for instance, we sold a player to a different club that club then sold to Everton. There will be money coming in that way as well. Right. So, and that will also adjust the payment schedule between Spurs and Everton. So we've got to not worry about pricing in that sense and say, well, he's not worth that much or anything. It is ultimately, this is how much Everton are saying we want as the nominal fee. And then the negotiation will actually be about, can our payment structure adjustment fit our financial forecasts for the club? This is what Spurs will be saying
for sure. And I would absolutely, I would agree with that, and I'd add to that, Rez, as well. I actually don't think I care how much we spend on any player. What I don't want to see is wasting money on a player, and like an Ndombele scenario where we spend 60 million and we get a dud.
Of course not.
That's the part. That's the stuff we don't want to see, and we don't want to see us spend so much money on a player that we can't get all of the players we need. You know, like you spend 70 million on a player, and then we can't afford the right wing back that we need desperately for the squad. Like that's what the stuff you want to spend. We want to see them spending well. If it's 70 million and it's over a long period of time, we still have the money to spend all the players that we need. I don't give a shit. It's not my money. You know, I just don't want it to affect the rest of the purchases. Sorry, Brian, go ahead, mate.
No. So with Richarlison, I was dead against it because I just think his attitude is not the best. But Simeon is wearing me down. Simeon is wearing me down hard with look. He's Premiership proven. The price is the huge stumbling block for me. And obviously we're talking about we've got the money. If this is what Conte wants to go out and get it, it's a huge stumbling block. But the one thing I have seen is Everton fans are going crazy about this, saying, listen, he is the type of player that once he's in your team and you see him, you fall in love with him for his work rate, his dedication, his commitment, his passion, his desire, everything. So I'm slowly but surely coming over to this one with Rafinha. Do you know what I've been saying? With Rafinha, people are saying Rafinha and Richarlison. And as Craig Bowler said, they're two different positions. And when you look at it I've likened Richarlison with his work rate and dedicated to someone like a Højbjerg kind of fighter and does all the battle. And Rafinha is more of a Ginola. So they both do all the hard work. They do it in very, very, very different ways. And obviously Ginola is your edge of your seat. And let's see every time you get the ball. And I said to Anna, he's done it a couple of times for Leeds. He's done it a couple of times, done it well. He could be a right wing back. Okay. Like we've said with Decky. Decky could go to right wing back. Now, if you put Rafinha at right wing back, you're getting pace, skill, a guy that can certainly put in a ball. He could, you're on mute, Bryce, whatever you said, we didn't hear.
It's probably better. I'm not interrupting you. I'm just blown away by that idea.
Yes, but then obviously he's great at set pieces. But when it comes to forwards, I mentioned it on Sean Butler's show. There's a few people talking about the guy here. I love the guy from Watford, Dennis. I absolutely think he could come in at a lot less money and do bits. Obviously, he may not be Conte's cup of tea or whatever, but I think there's a real play in there. But I don't know what people think with Rafinha. Possibly, this is just a wild. If Decky can revert to a right wing back, I don't see why someone like Rafinha couldn't.
Conte can do anything with anybody, basically.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's what I would like to see.
Except to make Aaron Ramsdale a decent keeper.
And why would he bother in this case? 100%. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's one point I think people are kind of missing with the Emmanuel Dennis suggestion that you make there, Brian. And people are looking at him as a striker, started the season well at Watford, ultimately got relegated. But before that, he was playing in the Champions League with Club Brugge. And one of my favourite Champions League moments in recent years, he went to Santiago Bernabeu with Club Brugge, scored, I think it was a late winner, and he did the Ronaldo celebration with Ronaldo playing against him. So he has that kind of attitude, that kind of character as well. So with him, it's so much more than just having that one season in the Premier League. Where look, he did well. He scored, I think, 10 goals.
10 goals, 6 assists. I mean, that's
for a relegated team.
Numbers,
that's nearly as good as what Richarlison had for Everton. So looking further back, I think Dennis is a good shout.
Maybe he's on the list.
Well, he certainly brings that cost back. But people are saying, like people say with Dumfries as well, and Craig Bowler also mentioned Martinez. Now, if you look at it, I think we're linked with about 4 Inter players. I know they need money, but there is no way we're going to get a Dumfries, a De Vrij, a Skriniar's come back in it from what I believed. Obviously a Bastoni and a Martinez. There's no way we're getting 5 from Inter Milan, even if we wanted to. And if it was one for me, I'm still sticking with Bastoni.
To be honest, if we did buy those 5,
then we're winning the quadruple.
We'd probably take over Inter Milan. It'll be like Inter Hotspur.
Yeah.
100%.
Tottenham Internazionale.
Yeah, Adam, we got 6-star comments there. Do we want to quickly go through those? And
let's go for it.
Yeah, for sure. I think. What do you guys think of our new? I think he's talking about Bissouma. I think we're all pretty happy about that. Is anything to add from anybody? Probably not.
Yep.
Koundé got a bad injury and just the transfer off. Koundé was never coming to Spurs. I think he was
been linked to Chelsea.
Chelsea, yeah. Well, so maybe that was because we were talking about Chelsea earlier. I'm not sure. Anyone know what we're doing with Pape Matar Sarr? This is a good one, Maddie, and I don't know if you know anything about this. What's the deal with this transfer? This was a Levy transfer, obviously. When we bought him, it was for the future. Yeah, exactly. So this is a Levy signing. What are your thoughts on his season, his last season? I heard he didn't even play a lot, which was difficult. Sent back to to that club, and does he have a place in this Tottenham side at all this coming season, or are we going to loan him back again?
This may be a bit of a controversial view, but I think it was a Paratici signing, maybe with a bit of Levy input. But Paratici has an incredible knowledge of leagues around Europe and been able to identify young players. I mean, there's stories of him talking of Nicolo Zaniolo, Mary Demiral, and another name which I can't think of, way before anyone knew who they were when they're playing like the second division of Turkey. So he does love a young player like that, but I can of course see why it could be a Levy signing as well. Mm-hmm. He had a very good season with Metz 2 years ago, which is why we bought him and loaned him straight back. He didn't have as good a season last year.
Metz, I couldn't remember who it was.
Yeah, he was actually more involved last season than I thought, as someone rudely reminded me in my comments. That was the way they said it. Was quite funny. But I think he played 33 games, but only like 58% of those were in the starting 11. So he came off the bench a lot. And the way I'm looking at this is, I don't know anything about whether he's in the plans for next season, but the way I'm looking at this is, if last summer, off the back of a really good season with Metz, if we didn't think he was good enough to be in the first team, now when he's had less game time and Metz have been relegated after a very bad season, I don't see why we think he's ready for the first team now. So I do think he will be loaned back out. Whether it could be to Metz again, I don't know. I would prefer it's to an English team so he can kind of start to adapt to the league. But I think Alistair Gold said something, they're going to bring him in for pre-season and see how he gets on. But I'd be very surprised, especially with the addition of Bissouma.
That's what we were saying today. With Simeon, and also you look at it, if Bissouma we think is practically done, he's a Tottenham player. If Eriksen comes in as well, that's 5 midfielders with Ollie Skip ready at Conte's disposal. There is no way he's jumping in front of any of those.
No.
There's just no way, unless we play him in Carabao Cup games and early FA Cup games. I think I said exactly what Matt said. I think if he does go out on loan, like the problem we had with Brian Hill, who went out to Spain, even though he was saying he needs to work on the physicality, he needs to go on loan to whatever league it may be. Yeah. He needs to stay in England. If you're going to gauge what these young players are like, you don't send them back to their home country where they're used to the football and go with the standard of what they're used to. They need to get English minutes under their belt, wherever it may be, whether it be a low championship team, a mid-championship team, a low Premier League team,
in the proper down and dirty leagues. I think from
I think from a footballing perspective that makes a lot of sense, but from a human perspective, which we have to remind ourselves, these players are humans, especially young ones when they're 20, 21 years old, they get homesick, and those things affect their ability to play. And even if they are in England and it's better for the football side of things, from a mental health perspective, sometimes it's like, if we want to keep this player and want to have them be happy and still want to be part of this club at some point, let's give them a chance to go back home, get they're young still, go through that process a little bit back home, and then develop them in a different way. It's different than just being hard lined about it, going chuck them in there, who cares what happens.
the thing with that is that, first of all, a couple of minutes ago you said "fuck them," Brian. So I don't know what you're on about now.
No, I was saying fuck him in particular, not fuck them.
The thing I'll say, look,
right, fuck him too. Then fuck him.
I think the point is, you're right. You're absolutely right. There is an adaptation to go, but I think coddling them might not serve the player. I would agree. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, of course, each person is different. But I think with when it comes to deciding what to do with what is ultimately quite an expensive asset, though, is that you do need to consider, what will get the best out of that asset. Not think of them necessarily as the human, but what is it that specific asset needs? Yeah. If it is a case of, well, this player is not going to thrive in a down and dirty league, then you cater what you do for that player to get the result that you want, because ultimately that's just logical.
Yeah.
What I will also say, though, is that most football players will want to get to the top of their game and can be convinced that the sort of emotional side of things, or the emotional adversity they might face, is part of developing to become the best player you can be. And I think that there are liaison officers at all clubs that will go through that and help players go through that actual process. So when it comes to our view of them, yeah, absolutely, we do acknowledge that they're human, but we would say, look, the best deal for him in terms of ability would be this. And then the club can worry about how to get about and doing it. And if it's not right for them, not do it. From what I've seen of Pape Matar Sarr, which isn't a huge amount, I will admit, but what Matt has said with regard to the fact that he got less game time in a team that was relegated this season to the season where we actually purchased him, says a lot about that player at the stage of development that he's in.
Yeah, it does, for sure.
So he will need to adapt. If he wants to play for Tottenham Hotspur at some point in the future, he will need to adapt to the English league. To do that, the best thing will be to throw him into in my view, throw him to the wolves almost, and if he survives, because it's competition ultimately. These people are competitive. They want to go
at the highest level as well, right? And if they're going to compete at the highest level, they have to have the wherewithal to get through those difficult times.
Yeah,
the steal for it, for sure. Adam, you got let's knock through these other comments here that you got. We got Juve bid 20 million for Lucas. Chris Callan just reported this.
Lucas, I think there's another one. I think there's sorry, go on. You finish.
I was just going to say, Lucas Moura comes or goes, guys. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I think most of us would agree. It's time for the player to move on. Unless we don't get any depth in that position, then he can still maintain that sort of last 10 to 15 minutes of coming on and doing something slightly different, but hasn't really done a heck of a lot, when it comes to numbers in the last few seasons, and sort of living off that Ajax result and performance. Thoughts on Moura and him going to Juve?
That report, I'm pretty sure, has come from Calcio Mercato in Italy, which I take with a massive pinch of salt. Yeah. So much salt that you're going to need liters of water just to keep going for the day.
You're going to be thirsty as hell, yeah.
Oh, you are. I personally don't see Lucas going anywhere. He said himself he's spoken to the club, and every party kind of seems happy for him to stay. And I think he's made it very clear as well he wants to go back to Sao Paulo. There's 2 years left on his Spurs contract, and if he's going to go elsewhere, he's going to sign a 2-year contract there, so he can go back home. And if it's 20 million, you're not going to spend 20 million on a player for 2 years. So I think it'll just be very difficult for him to leave now and still get that move in a couple of years. And I think he's a decent person to have around. I mean, he's not exactly awful. I think he can affect games off the bench. He's a good character.
I think he's great in the dressing room, Matty, when it comes to new players coming in, especially you get Brazilian players coming in. He's done really well with that. Portuguese players coming in. Speaking of multiple languages, I think there's more to a player that's been with the club for a long time than just what they do on the pitch. And in particular, I think Moura brings that to an extent, so that would be helpful for sure. What's the next question there? Sorry, go ahead. So go, Brian.
Yeah, I was going to say, with Moura as well, I think with all the players that are coming in, it could up his game even more. I mean,
true, for sure.
Quality. Like, listen, I love Lucas, and I even said at the beginning of last season, Brian, remember, I think he under Nuno, he might be our player of the season. Obviously,
I remember that.
That way. He looked very, very good under Nuno, but the quality wasn't there. And then obviously Kulusevski came in, Bentancur came in. Now, if all these players come in, the level around the ground or around the club go up tenfold. So it may work for him, but like Matt said, if he's got his heart set on Sao Paulo, he'll finish his 2 years. He just won't sign a contract. Off he goes. Yeah. But
Makes
the one thing I will say, before we go to the other one, because I unstarted by mistake, Lap has put in, apparently we've been linked with someone called Antony. And one thing I will say is he plays in Holland, and our Dutch correspondent is actually with Mrs. Kyriacou. So Daddy Kyriacou waxes lyrical about this guy and his potential. But from what he was saying and from what his partner Simon was saying, it's Manchester United and obviously the Ten Hag link that is very, very more than likely, if he comes to the Premier League, it's more than likely going to be Manchester United than us. But
because he knows the manager.
Exactly. He knows the manager. Manchester United, a huge club. He obviously knows how Ten Hag plays, Ten Hag trains, Ten Hag does everything.
And he'll be Ten Hag's man.
Exactly. So he is a wonderful player from what Danny says. I just don't see it happening because of United being the other team involved.
Makes sense for sure. Ad, do you want to chuck up the next question for us? This is a fun one. This is a fun one for you, Brian.
so yeah, it's Lacazette, my man. It's not one signing. What he needs to do is, if we have the window we're led to believe, and by all looks of it, we are actually having, he needs to do this repeatedly for a consistent amount of time, 5 years of backing the manager. And I don't mean spending hundreds of millions every time. I don't mean breaking the bank. I mean backing the manager, getting the players in early, doing everything they need to do and having it done so the manager can be successful for pre-season. When he does that 5 years in a row, then and only then will I start to even question my my animosity, let's say, towards him.
Yeah, and that's my attitude as well. The thing is that the reason we need to spend so much right now is because the squad has been so badly neglected. If you do it, if you spend regularly, you don't have to spend that much every time. You can just add, the odd addition here, odd addition there, keep the squad fresh, keep the attitude within the squad fresh, competition for places. So your squad and the culture within your club is one of continual improvement. Okay. It's the difference between I read this book once, and it was the difference between Western industrialization and Japanese industrialization. In Japanese industrializations, they follow something called Kaizen, which is basically every time you have a new iteration, you make a slight improvement. That's why Japanese electronics go through this process constantly of the next version coming out, which is slightly better than the last one. Yep. Whereas Western industrialization was always about the big leap, the great leap forward. We want to go from where we are now, which isn't very good, to being brilliant. Whereas the Japanese say, we'll get to brilliance step by step.
Slowly
so
but surely.
You refresh and you continually improve your squad by making one or two additions to it a season. Most clubs actually do that. Spurs haven't been doing that properly for ages. And that's what we need to do. We do a big splurge now to actually up the quality that we need to compete. And then we keep going like that until such time as we've got doing that all the time. And that is what it will take for me to basically say that Levy has achieved competence in his role.
There we go. So there you go, Lappers.
Next one up, ads. Let's start with Maddie on this one because I'd be curious about it. Question for all the panel: if you had to pick between Spence, Aarons, or Lamptey, who would you go for at right wing back? Great show, boys. Cheers, Lappers, for the comment. Appreciate it. But what are your thoughts on this, Maddie?
To be honest, I'd go Spence. Lamptey is, what was it, £50 million being quoted last summer. I don't think he's worth that. Look, he's a really good player. And he definitely has a bright future ahead of him, but splashing £50 million in a right back is a lot of money. Aarons, I think, had one really good season the last time Norwich were in the Premier League. And
a couple seasons ago, 3 years ago, I think it was. Yeah.
He hasn't stood out with anything special since then. I'd say Jed Spence is the only one who's currently on the best form of his career. Maybe we could try and build on that, but for me, none of them are the ideal first team option.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. If they were all free transfers,
that's a good question.
That's a very good question. If they were all free, I'd probably go Lamptey. To be honest,
that was my thought, because Premier League proven. I think that's what we've seen him do it against the best in the league. I think that matters, and I think Aaron's in the league didn't do it at the highest level, and Spence we're unsure of. So Lamptey seems to me like the most obvious one.
If they're all free, I'm still going Spence, and I'm not oversold on Spence right now. But if you look at it, like I said, Aaron's has come into the Premier League and not done it. He's fouled each time. He had one good season and he's shown it. Lamptey, his injury record is atrocious. When he's fit, he's good. When he's fit, he's good. And with Spence, we don't know. But the one thing we do know is he's got certain attributes that does fit the Conte model. When you look at his physique, his build, his stamina.
His delivery is really good. Yeah. It was really good as well, which is a massive part of it.
And if you look at it, listen, we're still looking to fill that right back slot since Carl Walker, so that we need to get this position more than any. I think right now this is a position we have to get right, because it's been how long since we've had a decent right back and say, right, that's it, first choice right back done. And I think Spence under Conte could be something. I'm not saying I want him as number one right back next season. I'd love a more experienced one there. But if I had to choose the three, and I can see why Matt is saying Lamptey, it's just his injury record. If he had no injuries or very, very bare injuries, I'd choose Lamptey all day long. But the injuries he picks up seem to be 2-3 months here.
He's been out for long periods of time, hasn't he? And that is definitely an issue.
We can't deal with that. And obviously with Emerson Doherty out. Did I say that right, Matt? Doherty?
No, pretty close. Pretty close.
It's not Doherty.
It's Doherty.
Doherty.
Yeah.
I got it. I got the last name, so I know how to say it.
I've got it. I got Paratici.
I love it. That's right.
Yeah.
What about KWP, guys?
I like what he's done at Southampton. I mean, he didn't have as good of a season last year as he did the previous when he first went to Southampton. I think he had a point to prove, and I think he proved that point. I think he was quite good for Southampton. He created a lot. He scored goals. He did the thing that he did, the minimal amount of chances he got at Tottenham, a lot, like for most of the season at Southampton. So is his form sort of dwindled a little bit? It has. He's had a few injuries, I think, as well, that have kept him out last season. So, but I liked him. I thought he was good. I don't know if he fits into Conte's system. I think Conte needs something a little bit more dynamic than what he offers. But I still liked him. I still thought, based on last season, I would have preferred him over what we had, other than when Doherty finally came good and had 3 or 4 good games in a row. But for a whole season, I thought KWP would have been a good player to have in that position still.
I've just decided I'm just called Doherty Matt from now on, because then I can't get it wrong. so
it's not Doherty. It's not just Doherty. It's it's not Doe.
Yeah, I'm not going to try. Even with my Hebrew, I can do it.
Yeah, you should just use your Hebrew there. It should be no problem.
It's not
Hebrew
Matt.
is the same as the Irish slang.
Yeah, no, I'm just calling Matt. It's a lot easier for future reference, especially when I'm on with David and Matt. It's calling him Matt is a lot more easier. So Adam, what's the next one?
So what do we got next? You know what I think he's talking about here? I checked this, and this is actually a question I wanted to ask Maddie as well. And forgive me if I've got the wrong one, but it's still a question I wanted to ask you anyways. Gleison Bremer is keen to work under Antonio Conte. Torino is now waiting for Spurs to make an offer for Bremer, as they are not currently negotiating with any other club for the defender as things stand currently. What's your thoughts on Bremer, and is this a feasible scenario? What's that?
Before I answer, I just want to add something on that. I can't remember who said it in the comments, but someone did say it in the comments that apparently Bremer is 6 months away from getting his Italian citizenship and getting his Italian passport. I don't know if that's totally, utterly true, but I'm sure if that is, Inter Milan is going to be a much more viable or wanted destination for him.
Why would he want Italian citizenship, though, over Brazilian, though?
Europe.
Multiple. I don't know. Maddie, what are your thoughts on Bremer? Is there anything true to this?
Brazilian players, once they retire, they can go back to Brazil and live the high life with the amount of money they make.
Yeah, but maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he'll stay in Europe.
Maybe.
I think on Bremer, he's a very good player. I mean, he won the Serie A Defender of the Year award last season.
Yeah, we need another one, right?
Exactly. I think if we just sign every player who wins that award, we'll never concede again, and it'll be fantastic. Get Jan Vertonghen back in as a coach. It's going to be perfect. I think, Bremer is probably more likely to go to Inter Milan. He's agreed personal terms with them. Inter are struggling to agree a fee with Torino. Now, the reason behind that is Inter need to sell to buy. And they've just bought today Christian Aslani for 14 million. They're close to completing a deal for Dybala. They're close to getting Lukaku on loan. They're looking to get Raul Beyanova, a right back from Cagliari. They're moving mad in this window. This one that you read out there, the source is Torino Granata. And what I always say is I take like kind of local sources very seriously, like Football London for us, or things like the Northern Echo for teams like Newcastle, and Manchester Evening News for United and City. So I would take that seriously, but in the same way, those local sources could be used to spin a story that the club needs to be spun. This could be a story that they've put out there to kind of force Inter Milan into making that offer, because let's not forget, Torino sell Bremer, they're going to have to replace him. So it could be either way, but it's definitely one to keep an eye on. Personally, I think Bremer will go to Inter Milan, but that could then mean a move elsewhere for Skriniar or Alejandro Bastoni.
Come on, then. Come on.
It's all I want in life, to be honest.
I know, right? I thought there was so much hope that was going to happen when it was like everything was time. There's possibility still there. The reports are that depending on what Inter do with their transfer window, that option is still on the board. So I'm not giving up on it, but I'm less excited about it because it seemed like it was going to happen, and now it's kind of like we're not sure.
Adrian raised an interesting point. Yeah, is it a case of they want to just bring players in to appease and then get rid of Bastoni?
I think a lot of this is from both parties trying to appease the fans, because the first line that was coming out there, I think Gianluca Di Marzio said it a lot, that they were willing to sacrifice a player. They were willing to sacrifice a defender, and the one they could really get the most money for in the best possible deal was with Bastoni going elsewhere. As he's only 23 years of age, and he's a very rare commodity, being a left-footed ball-playing centre-back with a lot of experience at his age. And I think the way the agent has spoken about things, that first quote where he's saying Bastoni's a professional, he loves Inter, but he's willing to adapt, then coming out, and I think that the agent saying he's definitely going to stay, put the entire onus on Inter. So the agent is protecting his client, and I think Inter are protecting themselves. So that, for me, is why I think a deal is still possible, but just really unlikely.
Yeah,
I think it's why we're also going for other targets now, because Inter have said, isn't it right, Matt, that they're waiting until the end of June, where they've got to raise this money by.
Yeah.
And if they haven't received funds by the end of the month, that's when things are going to be open. Now, obviously, we want him there as soon as possible, so he's ready for pre-season. Now, if we have to wait the 30th June and he comes in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th of July, then I'm totally fine. I think this is literally why we're getting everything wrapped up now, because I think at the end of the month, if Inter can't raise this 60 million they need, they're going to have to go, right, Tottenham, this is what's happened. I have to tell Bastoni, and the Ultras are going mad there. So this is to appease the Ultras. And we tried to raise funds elsewhere. We couldn't do it. We had Bastoni come out and say this, and then Tottenham was trying. I honestly think this deal is going through. I'm so convinced that this deal is going through.
Cool. The very interesting thing for me in all this is the day that it came out properly that Tottenham were in talks with Inter Milan. That same night, the news came out that we were looking to make a move for Pau Torres, and we were moving to try and get that done. So for me, what I'm thinking there is Tottenham went into talks with Inter Milan. They said, look, we don't think we can do this. We don't think we can let him go. Tottenham then planted that story. And as someone said in my replies on Twitter, it was Italian sources that leaked a deal between an English club and a Spanish club. That's Paratici. That's him using his links within there. So I think there's a lot of games being played by Inter Milan and by Tullio Tinti, by Alessandro Bastoni, but there's definitely games being played by Tottenham as well. And as sure it was that Tottenham are very keen on getting a deal done for Torres that night, it's gone completely quiet since then. So there's so much politics going on here, and it's just exciting.
Super interesting that we're involved in all these conversations. It's usually everybody else, right? So.
Brian, the thing is, it's nice that we're playing these games, not being the ones that are being used as the team.
We're not the ones being manipulated. We're the ones manipulating for the first. Exactly. It's the first time I've ever seen it. So
exactly. And like I said, I mean, everyone knows how I feel about this club and this board, but I am totally confident that this deal is going through.
I'd love to see it. That would be unbelievable. Our defense, it's just getting better and better. And under Conte too, just what he's been able to do as it is with the defense we have and the players we have. You just, it's exciting. It's very exciting. Next question, ads that we got up, buddy. What about the elephant that's still in the room, guys? Tanguy Ndombele. What do we know about this? What's that, Brian?
I said elephant's the right word.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. He moves very slowly on his own time. Doesn't really bother to give a shit about anybody else. And Maddie, any news on this Tanguy going anywhere? Is he gonna be playing with the under 21s this season, or what do we see happening with him?
It's a big struggle. That I think that's quickly turning into Tottenham's biggest, well, not their biggest, but one of the biggest things they have to get done this window. Leon in January, for some unknown reason, agreed to an option to buy for 60 million euro, which was absolutely outrageous. There's been links to the Spanish league, or links to Spain, Italy, and France, leagues that I think Ndombele becomes a very, very good player in.
It's a much better player in those leagues, yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Sevilla have been mentioned, which makes sense because they could be getting a lot of money in for Jules Koundé. There was another Spanish team name that I can't remember. There's linked to Jose at Roma. I think PSG are apparently back in the mix. It's going to be difficult to get him off the books, but because he's on £200,000 a week, we have to get him off the books. And if that means a 15 or 20 million pound transfer fee, which is a massive loss, it probably has to be done. Because every month that he's there, it's almost £1 million more that we lose.
It's a millstone right now. I mean, he's literally a millstone. He's so lazy. He drags everyone down, and a lot of people, I've seen a number of tweets on Twitter, rate the worst player ever, been a worst signing for Spurs ever. It's bloody Ndombele.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It really is.
He's the worst signing ever. Get rid of him. I'd give him away for free. I would turn around and say, any club who wants him, take him. Right, I would put him in a bin, right, outside Hotspur Way with a sign above it saying "sale." Right?
No. You don't even do that. You just put it.
Get the same one free.
Rez, you know what we do here? Rez, you know what we do here in Canada? We just curb it. Just curb them. Just chuck them on the curb. At the end of the curb.
Someone will take it.
It doesn't even cost anything. It just says free on it. Get out of here.
He's been told that he's training with the under 23s. When he comes back, he's going to have absolutely no involvement with the first team.
Good.
He shouldn't. Yeah. Good.
From what they say, no, he shouldn't. And it's sad that it's come to this. But in all honesty, I would terminate his contract and just pay whatever it is, come to some kind of deal, get him off the books. It's not going to do us any good. It's not going to do him any good. And just have a clean break and say, listen, this is where we're going. We're going level above here. Ta-da, bye-bye. And that's where we're going. This has turned into another Ask Anything, which I'm loving.
It's funny. It's kind of funny. I was just thinking that. I'm like, these shows, they work really well, and it's a lot of fun. We always have lots of things to talk about, and having Maddie on and talking transfers is adding to it as well. So fantastic stuff. What's the next question there, Ads? You got
I have a super chat.
We got a super chat. Let's do that one first. Glover, King, Johnson, Henley, Rickles, Paratici, MK, all dons. Thank you, Angel, for the super chat. Fantastic stuff.
Is that Angel or is it Angel?
Hard to say.
It's Angel. Next one, Ads.
This is what delict anyone. What are his thoughts on? I mean, I love the player. I just don't see him coming to Spurs at this point. There's nothing happening in that, Maddie, at all.
No, I don't think so. He's with Juve, and there's talks of him getting the captain's armband soon. With Chiellini leaving, he's gone off to Los Angeles FC. They're looking for their next big centre back, and I think de Ligt, they're at least going to try and make him that man. So I can't see him going anywhere.
Los Angeles, you said?
Mm-hmm. Los Angeles for Chiellini.
Chiellini, I heard. Yeah. I forget what you were saying. Yeah,
that's brand new. Okay. Yeah. There we go.
All right, next one. This one's a good one. Dagul, it's for you, buddy.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Do you know what? He's such a... By the way, as always, hashtag Robert the Bastard. So he was over here for dinner tonight, and he ordered wings and chips and everything from... where did he order it from? Deliveroo. And as he went down, he told me...
Oh, yeah.
When you go down there, they're going to ask you for a code or a password, and the password is I love wings. So he went down to me. So when I opened the door, and he goes, have you got the password or the passcode? And I went, no, have you got the 2-digit code? I was like, no, I haven't got a 2-digit code. I've got a sentence. And the guy was like, no, it isn't a sentence. It's a 2-digit code. I was like, no, it isn't. He's told me. And then I just hear this motherfucker laughing. The guy on his phone is showing me like there's 2 spaces to put the code in. And then he read out the code. So thanks for that, Bobby.
That's how
Bobby, he's such a bastard, but it's so good.
Oh, no, he is. And everything I do for this man, I go on streams, I get emotional when I talk about him, and I get all the shit. And mate, this is the bare minimum. I'm happy with this one.
This one's all right. Yeah. Don't poke the dragon.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah. You realize more's coming now that you've said that.
Just say yes.
What's up next, buddy?
I love wings.
He loves wings, but that's the official reply.
I love wings and I love Bob's. Let's put it that way.
All right. Next question from Amir Sarder. Amir, what are your thoughts on Manor Solomon? He has Champions League experience and goals. We top player under 20 million. He's only 22. I don't know anything about this player, so I'm going to leave this one unless you guys up top know. But Maddie, know the player at all? Know anything about him, Manor Solomon?
I'm sorry, I know nothing other than the fact he plays with Shakhtar Donetsk. I don't know anything else about him.
Okay, so Amir, you maybe tell us about him, but we don't have anything for you.
I can tell you, he's an Israeli international that is fast coming up. He's the next big thing to come out of Israel. Now, when you say the next big thing, you're obviously looking at Lyle Berkovic, Yossi Benayoun, who did very well in the Premiership. This is
Rosenthal.
Ronnie, obviously the legend that is Ronnie. And by the way, I got pissed with Ronnie Rosenthal, and that man can drink like a fish. Yeah, honestly, in the underground in Eilat, it was when we were in the Europa League or UEFA Cup, and literally he walked into our pub, and he was like, "We're like, oh my God, can we have a drink with you?" He's like, "No, can I drink with you?" And we're like, "Yeah." There's like 7 or 8 of us. First thing he did, he went, "This credit card, these guys, all night. You just." My God, did we get pissed? Oh my God! And he is built like a tank. And he was telling us he actually is the one, Ronnie Rosenthal, that referred Tottenham to Dimitar Berbatov. And he used to do that with other teams, but he went to Tottenham and said, and he spoke to Plea, or I can't even remember who it was, but Dimitar Berbatov is a guy you need. That's how the whole Dimitar Berbatov at Tottenham came. But getting back to Amir,
what position does he play, Manor Solomon? He's a striker. Okay.
He's an up and coming player that's got bags and bags and bags of potential. Definitely worth a look. But I think just right now, the way we're heading, obviously we're looking at Richarlison's and Jesus's and all these other ones that have been linked. I think it's too soon for him. But I would love to see him in the Premier League. Love to see him in the Premier League. And I'd love to see him at Tottenham.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I know nothing about him too, but sounds like a prospect for sure. What do we got next? This is just how to pronounce it. Maddie, is this correct?
Yeah.
Paddy, come and look at the name. If he can't say it right, so hurt.
Fair enough. I just realized, he's as Irish as they come, Paddy. So.
Well said, Brian.
Syllable name into 3.
Yeah, it's very easy for
From Adrian Sork, I believe Spurs will sign Bastoni because PSG are not in for Skriniar and Barca skint. Dumfries and DeVries won't bring enough funds to bounce the books with the panel. Think, I mean that sounds correct. Maddie, anything to add?
Yeah, the concern is PSG decide to whip out 80 million euro for Milan Skriniar, and I have a fear that they may do that because they've just brought in Luis Campos as director of football. They're bringing in a new manager. They may see this as a brilliant opportunity for them to really, really push towards the Champions League. And we know money is not an object for PSG. So my biggest concern with not getting Bastoni would be Skriniar going to PSG for an insane amount of money, but I don't see it happening.
Right.
But apparently they've dug out of it, from what I heard.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that. But
from what I heard, I don't know where. Was it saying we saw today in the studio? I'm sure I heard something. I don't know if it's concrete. But I believe that deal is dead.
Well, that's music to my ears.
Yeah, that is.
Bastoni, here we go. Come on.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm so convinced that this deal is going through. So convinced. And happy
It'd be
days.
fantastic for sure. I think we got a super chat we want to chat about here quickly from Amir Sarder. Big up Tottenham, fantastic channel, amazing channel. Seldom under both the price of flannel. Coys, Manners, quality wingers, striker, 2 feet, scored against Real. Nice. Thank you, Amir, for the support.
I bought a flannel for £8. Right, it's made of bamboo. It's very good. £8 is the maximum that we should really be demanding for Ndombele. Okay,
there we go.
There's the numbers from Rez. I appreciate that, Rez. I appreciate the super chat, Amir. Thank you very much for the support. Anybody else want to get their super chats in? It gets answered first, and obviously helps support the channel. So really appreciate it when folks.
I did just want to say, well, whilst we're on Amir as well, he's actually said as well, maybe not be too quick to get Solomon in, because obviously we can loan him out to another club, and that's not a bad idea at all. That's not a bad idea at all. He is someone. Maybe Matt, you can do a little look up on him. Or when you do it, because he will be a player. He will be a player.
Nice, fantastic stuff. Anybody to add to that, and we can move on to the next one. Ads. Daily Hotspur says, due to Spence's inexperience, should we keep both? Well, this is the question. We talked about this a bit earlier, Hotspur Daily. So if you were just joining us, I'm guessing that's the case. We sort of spoke about Spence needing somebody around him to kind of, to guide him, sort of a Perisic for the right-hand side. I think Doherty is that, or could be that player as far as positional play and understanding how to play a wingback in the system that Conte plays. Emerson, not so much, but Doherty, like Maddie said, isn't going to be available until December post World Cup. So we kind of need to manage that situation. And it is probably, I think, as Brian said earlier, the most important transfer at the moment, just to really focus on that right wing back, get somebody in, and maybe Spence comes in and does the job until Doherty's back. And then I'm not sure, but anything to add, Maddie?
Ideally, we'd have 3 right wing back options, but it's not really realistic, because the alternative, what I say with the front line, where there's so many places available, it's the complete opposite of right wing back. And if you're going to bring in a Spence, you want him to get game time so he can develop. And I think Tottenham are actively trying to get rid of Emerson anyway. So yeah. I think we'll only have 2.
Thank God.
Rez clearly doesn't like Emerson. Anything to add, Ryan or Rez, other than your complete disdain for Emerson?
I was willing to give him a chance until that attempted pass to Davinson Sanchez.
Against Brentford.
Yeah, who was like 6 meters away from him, and he pissed the pass so badly it went past Sanchez, who had to chase the ball and still couldn't get to it before it went out the other touchline. When that happened, I thought, you need to leave.
But Rez, didn't he make up for it in some ways, because he looked really, he was man of the match in a game. I forget which game it was.
Liverpool.
Yeah,
Liverpool won it, but Emerson could have won it.
Yeah, he was brilliant in that game. So
I'm gonna step down from my ridiculous, absurd.
I just mean, like, if you're gonna be so hard on him about a misplaced pass, can you not also give him credit for having a very good game against a big side?
I was being deliberately absurdist, but I would still tell him, and there's a reason for that. Okay, Look, Emerson has got the potential to be a right back.
A very good right back, but not a good right wing back. I agree. Yeah.
As a right wing back, he doesn't have the qualities in enough. He doesn't have the abundance of qualities needed to be a proper right wing back. A right wing back is probably the most complete footballer, because they need to do everything, and they need
hardest
to do it
job on the pitch, especially in Conte's system, for sure. It's brutal.
So he might be decent defensively. And if you notice, the games that he played well in were either really weak opposition like Norwich. Yes, he played okay in that. Not going to take that away from him. And against the bigger sides where we were playing very compact and defensive, i.e. Liverpool, i.e. Manchester City. We had problems breaking down certain teams because our wing backs, both sides, had problems getting up the pitch and delivering balls of quality into our lethal front 3. And this is why Royal needs to go, because he's got too much development. And maybe the possibility exists of him becoming a right wing back, but because the development need is so high, doing that is of too great a cost to the club. We're not a nursery side. I've said this before about him. We are not a side that should be taking players that require that much development and giving them the opportunities to do that. Nursery clubs are lower down the division and in lower leagues. They're not for a top 6 club. Ask yourself this question. Would Emerson get into any of the other top 6 sides and displace who they've got? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
guys, we got breaking news on Twitter that just came up. Just wanted to share it. Yeah, there it is. Oh God, I couldn't resist.
That is absolutely brilliant.
Oh God, I couldn't resist. I was like, I gotta get that up. That's too funny.
Breaking news at 25 to midnight. Yeah. You've got to be kidding me.
I thought it was the Bastoni. Here we go. Don't do that to me.
I know. Maddie's face. He's like, "Oh, I can't wait to see what Who did we sign? Who did we sign?"
That was like, how do I politely get off here and get my own channel going? But yeah,
too well.
Before we go to the next one, I just want to say big up to my brother Aaron Dubbin. I will speak to you very, very shortly. And also, I've seen Mary Poppins, aka Kimber, is in the chat. Nice. So big up him.
What's up?
Always good seeing her in the chat. But yeah, Adam, what's next? I think another couple of super chats came in.
Yeah, a couple of super chats. There's no questions in the super chats, but thank you for the support from James.
Sorry, James, I can't wait to see you when I'm back in Toronto and get our Spurs. I think Toronto Spurs membership will be open in a couple of weeks. So
I can't meet James.
Yeah, you'll meet James. You'll meet James in October.
Yeah.
Which
nice one,
good.
And then we've got another one from Wolves5. Thank you, appreciate your support, mate. It's too much. It's crazy. He's always filling in. That's it, guys. That's all we got. It's probably a good time to call it anyway. We've been going for about an hour and a half, and keeping Maddie for a long time. He's past his bedtime, I think. At this point, his eyes starting to flutter a little.
True.
We got one more super chat. Wesley Johnson, thanks for all you do, boys. Thank you, Wesley. Appreciate the super chat. Fantastic stuff. I want to ask one more thing, and this is a good one to go out on to Maddie, and of course to get Rez and Brian's opinion on it. Christian Eriksen coming back to Spurs. What does it look like? Is this thing going to happen? Because it has been talked about, and of course, there's a lot of difference of opinion on what we think should happen and what will happen, and whether or not anybody wants him back or not. I flipped myself back and forth on one way or the other, but I'm convinced. I think it's a very good idea now. Maddie, where are we at on this transfer? Is this going to get over the line?
If I had to predict right now, I think it will. The biggest challenge we have is Manchester United. They've apparently made an offer. David Ornstein said that yesterday.
50 million or something like that, right?
I'm not sure what it would be a free transfer, but
of course he's on a free. Or the wages were what I saw. Yeah,
they've offered 350 grand a week apparently.
350 a week.
I think that's what I read. It was an absurd number with 50.
This broke earlier today, and obviously I said yesterday that I think Man U are a serious player in this because he came out and said Champions League football isn't the be all and end all like he had said before. And this could be the Ten Hag link, and obviously he was training with Ajax for a bit. And apparently 350 grand a week. And if it's financially what he's looking for, then obviously I don't think we're even going to compete with that because I believe, and Matt will know more, Harry Kane will be on the highest wage, and so I would imagine Hugo is as well. So then you're shifting three players onto 350 grand a week, and if it's financially, I don't think we compete with Man U. But I'm now in the camp that I want him, and I've been out of that camp the whole time. But
I was the same, bro. I was the same.
I'm in the camp now because if Bissouma comes in, then Eriksen's that missing piece for the creativity and everything. If it had just been Eriksen, I would have been, no, I don't want him. But if Bissouma gets over the line, I'm fully on board for Eriksen, but I don't think we compete with United. And sorry, Matt, I cut you up.
I kind of agree with you, to be honest. From a footballing perspective, I'm not entirely sure it's the best move that we can make. I think, I suppose, probably completely agree with you, Brian. So what I was saying is I think we need someone more balanced than a Christian Eriksen. But if we're getting that with Bissouma, then Eriksen as a playmaker, as a number 10 is a very good option for us. And it gives us a bit of unpredictability and a bit of versatility in the way that we play, because Conte with Inter Milan, he won the league playing 3-4-1-2. And I think having the ability to switch between the 3-4-3 and the 3-4-1-2 and just plopping Eriksen in a position where you can just say to him, stand there and do what you want. And that's where he would be at his very best. Exactly. I think that's good for Spurs. I think from a nostalgic point of view, the romantic side of football, I think we'd all like to see him back in a Spurs jersey. And I do think it will happen. I do, because he said Champions League isn't essential, but to go back to a club where he had the best years of his career, to play with Conte, who he won his last trophy with, and to get back into the Champions League, I think is fantastic for him.
Yeah, I think the Conte effect is probably the biggest pull for him, over and above Ten Hag and his connection with Ajax. I just think the chance of winning a trophy at Spurs with Conte, with that system that he knows so well, it's got to be too tantalizing. I think he'd probably take. I mean, he just played for Brentford for a season. I don't think the 350 grand a week to me doesn't seem like something he'd ask for. But Matt said, stand there, and do you want to? I'm not even going to try it.
Innuendo City now.
Yeah.
The thing with Eriksen as well is he already knows Son's and Kane's game. Him with Kulusevski as well, where he hasn't got the worry because you have Bissouma or Skip or Højbjerg or Benton Corsa. It's not going to be
pure freedom.
We know he does cards. It'll be literally like Matt said. You can go and play your game because the people behind you will do what you got to do. And with Decky there, it will start the desk partnership again because instead of Deli, it'll be Decky.
Oh yeah, right. Desk is back together.
I think those three with an Eriksen picking the balls and Harry Kane knowing to make these runs. Yes, we love Harry Kane dropping deep and it's part of his game. But if you can have Harry Kane staying up top and being the 30 or 25 plus goal a season in the Premier League with Son, with Kulu, and then Eriksen.
And Eriksen's going to overlap on that as well. Kane drops deep. Eriksen makes runs as well. I mean, the fluidity of that four as
they could reenact that Kane and Dele partnership.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw that a lot when Dele was there. So you could see that happening again for sure. I just want to say to Adam quickly, Adam in the background, don't stop taking more questions or stars. I want to answer what we've got. And if anybody's got questions for us, we will do an Ask Anything, even though that's not what this was. We appreciate it. I just want to get through them. I've got to eat some dinner, and I'm getting a little bit hungry. So if we can get through those quickly, you keep Paul Walters there because he's given us a super chat. But we're going to finish questions from that. Well, let's get Paul's super chat up, and we'll read that, and then we'll call it.
With regard to Eriksen, I had absolutely no real desire for him. I wasn't thinking it was all that important that we get him or anything like that until the Bissouma transfer dropped.
It helps, yeah.
Once that is thing, and you're saying, right, you've now got your 4 default position midfielders in place. Now you can go after your lower priority targets. For me, Eriksen was always a lower priority because we never, as a default thing, we never needed creativity in that position because the way that Conte plays is that it's always about triangles from defensive transition into attack and then out the wings, and the wing backs supply your lethal forward. Now that we've got those 4 central defenders, you can then say, okay, 4 squad depth, 4 squad versatility. Yes, you can go for an Eriksen because he's free. He knows the club. He knows the manager. It makes sense. But he's not the only player that we could get if we wanted that option. But he's not a bad option to get.
100%. Paul Walter says, looking forward to us going to the Woolwich with our full-on Conte new model army and smashing the place up. Yeah, Paul, I was talking about that at the beginning of the stream. If you weren't here, in regards to nice to play them early on and just just get it done with and go to their place and smash them. It would be a ton of fun. So cheers for the support, Paul. Appreciate it. I gotta go, guys. I gotta eat, so I hope you guys don't mind. Absolute pleasure, Manny. Thanks for hopping on. I mean, it was sort of random last minute stuff. We've been trying to get you on for a bit and making it kind of all coordinate, but it worked. It turned into a transfer show based on the
ask us anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a Tottenham on Tour show. This is what we do over here.
Fixture, ask, transfer.
So Matt, you got anything coming up you want to share with folks that's coming up on your channel?
First of all, thanks a million for having me on.
Pleasure. Anytime.
I love chatting with you guys, and it's good that our schedules haven't completely clashed for one night and probably one night only. But yeah, look, I just talk transfers on my channel. It's what I love. I don't know if you're doing something for the fixtures tomorrow when they're announced. If you're not, I am. If you are, pretend I'm not. Just for the reaction to the fixtures and when we're playing Arsenal, I'll be live from probably 10 to 9 in the morning if I get up on time.
Nice.
Hopefully getting to 15k subs by the end of the window. So I'd appreciate any support.
Yeah, Matty deserves it, man. You did such a great job. I love your channel. I love the content. It's fantastic stuff. Always look forward to. What's he gonna? What's he gonna talk about today? Fantastic. Rez, Shelfside Spurs. How you doing, buddy? How's the channel going? Tell everybody where they can find you.
channel's going okay. We're on summer holidays at the
summer
moment.
break. I think many of us are. We're
yes, it's sort of getting back. You can also find me on Bob Spurs free for all on Saturdays in the wall with some special quizzes. So if anyone hasn't experienced the unique joys of that, you can also join in there. But if you want to find Shelfside Spurs Show, 4 words SSSS Shelfside Spurs Show on YouTube. We're coming up to 600 subscribers, which is
nice.
Coming
Get on
along
over there, smash a like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We think if you like a bit of anarchy, right? If you like something that's not your usual football discussion show, then do come and visit, because we talk about all sorts of things. We've talked about whale semen. We've talked about
so random.
That's where you start.
yeah, exactly. No, Maddie, if you've not been on their channel, you need to. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Yes, and whale semen is awesome. Yeah. Al's mobility issues are on there. We talk about that a lot.
Okay.
I'm sure once Nick gets back from his stag do, we're going to have some content about that and interspersed discussion around football and Spurs in particular. So yes, do please come along and give us a little like and a subscribe. And thank you to Amir Sada, who says that he's just subscribed. I'm not sure you know what you're in for.
Now.
Yeah, I don't know what you're. I'm not sure you know what you're in for, but please stay, please.
It's a good time. It's a good time. It's a good laugh.
I'm sure we'll be on again soon, talking our Spurs and weird stuff as well.
Fantastic, Rez. Thanks for coming on, buddy. Really appreciate it. Love seeing you. Love having you on. And of course, Brian's there with you. You guys are potentially going to react to the fixture list at some point tomorrow. So look for that on our channel. I may do something as well. I may do a digest as well. But Brian, you want to add something? Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Matt's obviously everyone's going to be doing fixture list reviews during the day. I promised Ellie we'll get her on the channel, and I promised we'll do something tomorrow. So we'll probably go live at this time tomorrow if you're free as well, Ireland, and then we can do a recap of the fixtures as well, and then maybe another Ask Us Anything / transfers for another hour and a half or so. So we will be live tomorrow, whether it's just me and Ellie, or me, Ellie and Ireland, or Adam or Daddy. But Daddy's with Mrs. Kyriacou, so I highly doubt it. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night. But we will do Rez and I doing a reaction whilst driving to the Tottenham Hotspur. We are Tottenham TV studios to do another reaction with Simeon, where we'll be taking calls to come back in the evening to do another reaction. So
react.
Tomorrow I'm going to be reacting all day.
Tomorrow,
you know
is right. It's just going to be like.
And you know for sure that there's going to be a transfer that's going to go through tomorrow of probably Bissouma, and we're going to have to react to that as well. So it'll be
exactly. So react.
Exactly.
So yeah,
exactly.
If, like we said last time, we'll do a bit of Ask Us Anything as well. So if anyone does have any questions, put your Ask Us Anything questions in the YouTube comments once this goes on, and you can start commenting on YouTube, and they're the ones we'll tackle first thing when we start doing Ask Us Anything after the reaction of a reaction of a reaction of a reaction.
Actually, that's what you should do. You should do a reaction show to people's reactions to the.
We're gonna rate the reactions.
Exactly. There we go.
Analyze the reactions of the reactions. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has gone on. No, Rez, this has gone on too far. Thanks for watching, everybody. Been a great time, great show, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a good one. Cheers.
Bye, Conte. Tottenham On Tour. Tottenham On Tour.